Okay, good evening, everyone. This is X-Ray Mike, and I'm on the microphone to tell you about Guilty Treasures. This is a podcast about movies that you won't always admit to liking, but deep down you'll always love. And today we're going to talk about the most recent, the 61st, fully animated family film from Disney Animation. It came out this Thanksgiving, year of our Lord 2022. And it is a strange movie. There's a lot of stuff in here that I like, but it certainly has quite a few problems. The biggest problem is that, like so many of the movies we review here, it seems to be a box office failure. It is a movie that only made $18 million, which would be fine if I woke up tomorrow and made $18 million. That'd be nice. But for these large CG animated movies with movie stars and huge budgets over many years of production, that's not good. Disney chose to release this movie against their own Marvel movie, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Probably something I should be reviewing right now, but I'm not. But yeah, so let's get started. It seems to me that this is going to be a movie that very few people are going to watch, if at all. So I'm just going to go ahead step by step and spoil the entire story and then talk about some of the controversy around it. So let's get started. It's going to be quite a journey. We start out with some very rushed, not rushed, very low frame kind of interpretive animation that pops out the cover of a pulp magazine. We meet this character, Jaeger Clade, voiced by Dennis Quaid. I'm going to say Quaid instead of Clade a lot. So please bear with me. Okay, look, it's Johnny Ennui, maybe. So this is the classic climbing Mount Everest dynamic here. Oh, hello.
What's up?
Yeah. Actually, I was just recording a podcast for Disney's Strange World.
Oh.
There's this movie, oh my Lord.
I have not seen it.
You and everyone else in the world making this one of the most horrible box office disappointments in Disney animated history.
Wowzers.
So now all of a sudden the Black Cauldron is no longer the redheaded stepchild.
Oh man, that was a good movie.
I know. It's so good to watch in the autumn too. So I just saw it, and yeah, it is really, really average.
Wow.
Like somebody burned the midnight oil saying, guys, what we're doing here, it's not average enough. We need to really break our knuckles to put more average into this movie.
Wow. Interesting. It's a bold strategy.
Bold.
See if it works out for them.
And yet it did not work out. Oh my Lord. So yeah, so the short story is go see Wakanda Forever instead.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Okay, podcast over.
Oh, yeah.
We're good.
Prepare yourself for a journey beyond what is possible. Walt Disney Animation Studios proudly presents Strange World, a new motion picture event. Brace yourself! Travel past space and time to a place of infinite mystery, unlike anything you've ever seen. Where in the world are we? What in the... We are in way over our heads. I'm not an explorer. I'm a farmer. We need to get out of here.
If you want to back out, this is the time to do it.
Really?
No! Messing with you. Come on. Let's make history.
Okay, so where were we? All right, let me go over the whole story. All right, so we have opened up with a big introduction about this, Doc Savage, pulp hero kind of guy named Jaeger Clade, and he has a son named Searcher Clade, and he actually does have a living mother, which is they make a joke out of that because Disney is famous for killing at least one parent all the time. So that's one point they get there for making that into a joke. That was a good one. So 1 point. Okay, so they're doing the gotta cross the uncrossable mountain thing, be the first person to the top of Mount Everest or whatever. And they find these mysterious plants that seem to solve all the world's problems. So Searcher says, this mountain's great and all, but why don't we just, bring these plants back and cultivate them and save the world? He gets into a huge fight with his father, and he storms off into the mountain alone, determining to get to the other side of the uncrossable mountain, etc., etc. So years later, Searcher Clade is now married with a teenage son and a dog on a farm where he farms batteries, essentially. They're these little Brussels sprout things are a little bit smaller than tennis balls, and they're just filled with the electricity. You can literally just throw some into a vehicle and you have like miles of range. I think they use like 3 of them per tank full, and that works on, hovercrafts, cars, all that stuff. So there's a nice little steampunk world that they build there and establish, and then completely ignore to go into a whole nother fictional world called the Strange World. Okay, the magic, I like to call them the Shizuma drives, because if you ever seen the anime Giant Robo, which is only slightly about Giant Robo, there's a story point where in the future, like, they found perfect energy. This scientist named Dr. Shizuma invented the Shizuma drive, where it's this ultimate battery that can power anything: a car, a plane, airship, robot, whatever. And it's completely renewable, 0 emissions, and it probably smells of lavender too. It's just so perfect that everything down from a tiny watch down to the great airships all run on them. And that's a setup for a huge, huge problem in that show. It was like a mini series, OAV, and one of the best. I should be reviewing that, not this. Yeah. But yeah, similar thing here. These magic Brussels sprouts that solve all the world's problems are starting to die, or some kind of infection or fungus, and they have to go deep underground to the connected root system in order to get to the heart of the problem. So they go full on Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is definitely a Journey to the Center of the Earth movie. They go underground. There's an impossible world down there, etc., etc. So when they get down there, Searcher Clade runs into his long-lost father, who has been living in this crazy place the whole time, stuck, of course, for 25 years. Managed to fashion himself a nice flamethrower from his hiking equipment and parts he found around the Strange World. Pretty nice. Nice to have more flamethrowers in your Disney movie. So that's 2 points. Okay. So they reconnect, and Jaeger Clade meets his grandson, and they have to traverse the world past something called the Boiling Sea, or like the Flame Sea or something. It's a sea of acid, okay? So by combining their forces, they get to the other side. They meet a giant blue amoeba and keep it as their sidekick, because it's a Disney movie. And then they go to the other side. They find the heart of the root system for the magic electric plants. And so they try to save it from being attacked by the Strange World monsters. But, and there's, of course, the subplot of, Searcher Clade does not want to be like his father. He doesn't want to be an explorer. He feels neglected and unloved because of his father's unrelenting pursuit of glory. Then, his son would kind of rather like to be an explorer. And, there's an environmental issue here, but we'll get to that. Okay. And there's a couple of these scenes where Searcher just looks at his son, and all of a sudden, this massive mustache of his father appears on the young boy. Just massive, massive asterisk and obelisk mustache. And he starts fantasizing. He's like, I'm going to be just like your father. Wahahaha. And that was pretty funny. That got me. And so, yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal and Dennis Quaid have pretty good chemistry together. That's nice. So we're up to 4 points now. So, of course, the big reveal, which is not that hard to guess or surprising, was that when they get to the other side of the mountains, go by accident, they see a giant eyeball. And they realize that the world they living on was actually one giant creature, and they were actually exploring through its blood vessels, essentially. And so, yeah, these plants that they've based their energy on are actually a cancer, and it's killing the island that they live on. So this puts them into definitely into a conflict. They can kill their world and preserve their fuel supply, or they can give up their fuel supply to save their world. Okay, so that's that is a very heavy-handed, ham-fisted analogy there, Disney. Wow, that is the hammiest of fists that have ever hammed that you put into this movie. Oh my dear sweet Lord. Okay? And here's the thing. At the end of Monsters Incorporated, which had this similar, don't worry, I'll get back to this, but at the end of Monsters Incorporated, there's of course a parallel between sneaking out of a child's closet and making them scream with fossil fuels. Okay, you need it to power the lights, you need it to make the trains go, you need it to give electricity to hospitals. Okay, but it's not really a nice thing to do. So there's that direct parallel with Monsters Incorporated scaring and fossil fuels. Now at the movie, of course, they discover that laughter is 10 times better than screaming, and so they become an alternate energy company. And that immediately solves all the problems. See, the problem is in real life, with the exception of nuclear, alternative energies don't magically give you 10 times the energy with absolutely no drawbacks. In real life, they give you 1/10 of the energy, and they're all drawbacks. So like wind, it doesn't work when the wind isn't blowing. Solar, it only works when the sun is up. Those are big drawbacks, especially in the winter, which is when you need the most power. And alternately, they really hand wave that at the end of Monsters Incorporated. And they did revisit it a bit in the Disney Plus series Monsters at Work and kind of addressed some of these issues. That switching from one type of energy to another is not easy, so good on them for that. But this movie, they literally bring it up and then they don't address it. They set up like one wind turbine. So I guess everybody's walking because they don't have no electric batteries for their electric cars. So I guess everybody just walked, So that one fan is not going to replace thousands and thousands of acres of magic electric Brussels sprouts. It's not going to happen, and they just don't address it. So like the family subplot is resolved, so good on them. But I guess they fail to save the world. Well, they save the world because the world's revealed to be a giant turtle, which is hilarious. But they don't save the world. There is a huge humanitarian crisis that they just do not address. And that just pisses me off, So that alone makes it a very, very average, very subpar movie, If you're going to spend $100 million to make this animated movie about this issue and then not have any ideas about the issue, and you just wasted $100 million, I'm sorry. You really have to sit down at a table with some people and work out the ideas first. Otherwise, you should not pursue it to the point of hundreds of $millions in animation and effects. I'm sorry, At least Monsters Incorporated tried. So the other thing, which is funny because I saw like one trailer for this on like Yahoo Mail or something. I did not see it advertised. I didn't see any posters. I did not see any YouTube ads for it. It's been really, really kind of buried, which is of course a bad sign. When you make an expensive movie and there's almost no commercials for it, it means that they've already accepted their L. They know ahead of time that's going to fail, so they just don't spend as much on advertising because at that point you'd just be exacerbating the problem. So that's not good. The only reason why I thought to see this movie is because there's a bunch of, God bless them, right-wing YouTubers who come out and claim that this movie failed because it was too woke. This is a get woke, go broke movie. And if only they hadn't been so woke, then they would have made all their money back and everything would have been fine. No, that is not true. And I am not trying to promote wokeness or refute wokeness. I'm stating the fact. This movie has a giant cancer of mediocrity, and it's just not very good. And also, it's not very woke at all. Now, in the very beginning of the movie, I mean, after the, Pulp magazine stuff, we are introduced to an adult Searcher Clade, Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, yeah. He's in a biracial marriage. They have a gay teenage son, and their family dog is disabled. He's missing. None of that has anything to do with anything. The son's gayness has no bearing on the plot. Glade and his wife are very similar. They have the same accent. They're from the same culture. They talk the same. They dance in synchronous choreography. The fact that they have different colored skin is completely superficial. They're obviously from the same culture. They speak the same language. There's really nothing that different about them. There's nothing in peculiar about them marrying and having children. And also, they already made a movie challenging the idea of interracial couple. It was called Look Who's Coming to Dinner. And that was 60 years ago. So you missed the boat there. And also, they also made a movie called Journey to the Center of the Earth. And that was 80 years ago. So there's two parties you're late to. There's a giant party of being late to parties. That's what this movie is about. But as I was stating, this movie is not woke. The main character is Searcher Clade. And if there is a second main character, it would be his father. And the main emotional resolution here, you could argue, is between father and son, and then father and grandfather. But it's really mostly between father and grandfather, which means that the cis, white, hetero males are the main characters, and everything revolves around them. Everyone else is just there to be included. They're just scenery. That includes the son. That includes all the people of color and the crew, the three-legged dog. They're just included. This is like I'm putting air quotes up here, Disney movie. This is the worst of what Disney movie does. They just put a bunch of stuff out that, according to some chart, is popular, and they call it a movie. You put an adorable animal sidekick. You have family roughness. They didn't kill their parents, actually. So that's the one thing they do is step in the right direction. No one's parents die in this. Oh, that's amazing. It's an entire movie. It's an entire Disney movie, but what happens when the parents don't die? Oh, if you want to see an actual woke movie, you should see Wakanda Forever, I guess, which is this movie's main competition, which has African main characters fighting Latin American main characters, and that actually is what the plot is about, as opposed to this movie, which is all about how more important straight white men are than everyone else. So everyone's wrong about this movie. I think the movie is, it's enjoyable, and it's very, very mediocre and ham-fisted. And, it's not as good as the critics say it is. It's not as bad as the box office reveals it to be. And it's not as woke as the right-wingers say it is. And it's not as progressive as the left-wingers think it is. So this movie is nothing to no one. And that's all I've got to say about that. So you guys have a great Thanksgiving, but please avoid this turkey. This has been Guilty Treasures. Be sure to visit our Patreon and our YouTube page, link below.